Hi everyone, in today's video we are going to be exploring my latest Unreal Marketplace pack, the Stylized Modular Cave Pack, and I figured the best way to show how you can get the most out of this pack is to do a short build demo. Now, a lot of this video is going to be time-lapsed, as it will mostly just be me placing things down, but there are a few tips and tricks I want to share with you, so I'll be slowing things down from time to time to talk about those. So, without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so what I have open here is the demo scene that comes with the pack. This is a fairly large scene, but it is also completely self-contained. So if I were to, say, drop in a character and run around the scene here, there's no way I can, exit this cave into a larger world. So I thought what would be kind of fun for today's video would be, instead of just showing you how to build a scene, similar to this one that's completely self-contained and would require you to load in your character and the level just right here, I thought what would be fun would be instead to show you how you can integrate this pack into a larger scene. So I have gone ahead and prepared a little demo scene here. So let's open that up. No, we don't have to save. Okay. So this is the demo scene I've prepared. So these assets that you're seeing here are not included with the cave pack. However, these are all part of my Pacific Northwest Stylized Nature pack, which are also available for sale on the Unreal Engine Marketplace. So if you like any of these assets, I will link down in the video description the link to purchase these as well. But let's say that you are working on maybe an open world game or just a larger game, and you want to use the cave pack, but you want it to be smoothly integrated into your larger landscape. So that's what I want to go over how to do in this video today. So luckily there is a way that we can very easily do this in Unreal using their landscape system. So what this hinges on basically is the ability for us to paint an opacity mask onto our landscape. So if we come into landscape mode here, we can take a quick look at it. And it's going to be in the sculpt tab, not the paint tab. And we have this one here that says visibility. So what this option right here is going to allow us to do is come in with our brush and paint out holes into our landscape. And the cool thing is that it's automatically going to affect the collision. So once we paint a hole in our landscape, our character's going to be able to walk or fall right through it, which means that if we have a nice hillside like this, we can punch a hole in it and put our cave essentially underneath our landscape and have it all integrated. So in order to be able to do this, there's a few things you have to set up with the landscape material, but it's very simple. So I'm going to walk you through that right now. Okay, so my master landscape material for this scene is right here. It's this M landscape cave. Now, again, this landscape material, it's a pretty basic one. It is the one I include with my Pacific Northwest Stylized Nature pack. So if you have that or you're interested in getting it, this will be the material that you have with it. Now, by default, I don't have this visibility in this pack, but we're going to add it right now because it's really only a few steps. So for whatever scene you're working on, just go ahead and open up the master material, not the material instance, for that landscape. And we only have to change two things in here. The first thing we have to change is our blend mode is currently set to opaque. We just want to change that to masked. And that will give us this opacity mask option right here. So in order to hook this to the landscape visibility as part of the landscape sculpting tools, all we have to do is search landscape visibility mask. It's this one right here. And that's all there is to it. We just have to connect this to the opacity mask, apply it, and save it, and close that out. Now, nothing has changed in our landscape so far because we haven't painted out any of the visibility yet. So basically what we need to do now is decide where we want our cave entrance. So I left this little area blank right here because I know that this is where I want to have a cave entrance. So for right now, I'm just going to delete this static mesh that is sort of blocking this hillside here. And I'm going to paint my visibility mask in right here. So let's come back to landscape, and we're in sculpt. And let's change the brush size to be something a little bit smaller. And with the visibility, all I have to do right here is click and hold, and now I have this hole in my landscape, and you can even see sort of to the underside and back behind where I haven't done any of the detail work that I have for this immediate area. So just to prove that this collision works, we can right click and hit play from here. And we have our mannequin. And right now we can just jump right through and we fall to our doom. Okay, so that's great and all, but now what we have to do is add in our cave system right here. Okay, so I want to, before we move on and continue building out with the tile piece, I want to talk a little bit about the colors here. So all these pieces in this cave pack actually are fully recolorable. So I have chosen defaults that I liked, but as you can see, they're not really matching our surrounding area. So our options are two. Basically, we can change the color of these rocks, or we can change the color of these rocks. Now, depending on what landscape pack you're working with, or maybe you've made your own, it might not be possible for you to change your exterior rocks. So for that purpose, even though I could with this pack change the color, I'm going to change the color of these to match these a little bit better. So the way that I'm going to do that is just by coming into the materials folder of our cave pack. And I'm going to open, let's start with this one right here. So to see what material we have applied, just open the details and we can see our material is Material Instance Stones A. So let's go ahead and open that, and I'll pull it up here for you on the side. No, okay, I will pull it right here for you. So as you can see, this is a pretty simple texture. We have our base color normal, and we have a channel packed occlusion, roughness, and metallic. So you'll notice if you look at the textures for this pack that they are all the base colors are gray scale, and that is because I wanted to make everything as recolorable as possible. So to recolor this to match, all we have to do is click on our tint here, and we can just choose a color that looks good to the eye, that matches a little bit more, something like that. Let's save this color because we're gonna probably need it more often. So go ahead and save, and if you want, you can always duplicate these if you don't want to lose the defaults, or you want to be able to mix and match. So I have quite a few materials here that all use the same color scheme and recolor system basically. So all we have to do is for everything that we want to recolor, we just need to come in, find its material. So you can see for this one, it's using a couple here. We're using the cave, the stone B moss, and the stone A moss. So here's stones A moss and stone B moss. The only difference between stones A and stones A moss is that one has a moss texture applied. Now in the regular one, the not moss variation, you can see that we do have a moss checkbox here, and so basically the only reason I have two is because I wanted to be able to use some rocks with moss and some rocks without. So that's the only difference, is that this one has the checkbox ticked right here, and you can see there's all sorts of settings that become enabled for your moss, including color. So if you wanted to make this like snow instead, you could change it to like white, you know, or something like that. so I want to fill this out a little bit more, but I want to do it with these individual stalactites, and that would take quite a while to do individually. So I'm going to use the foliage system to paint them on. So I have some foliage types saved out for this pack. These ones right here. And as you can see, among them are the stalactites and these stalagmites. Now, I've set them up so that they'll hang properly from the ceiling. So it is a little bit tricky if you've never done that before, if you've only worked with like trees and, you know, what you think of typically as foliage. There's just a few settings in the foliage details panel, I guess, that allow you to have them hang from the ceiling. So go ahead and check out the details of these if you're wondering how I did that. Okay, so one thing I definitely do want to talk about a little bit is the material blending options you have here. So right now, all of our cave pieces are using just like a tiling, cave, wall, floor texture. But I do have some pieces that use more of like a dirt texture. So if I get rid of this one right now and I drop in the rubble pile here, let's come in and let's change the stone color to match our thing. Okay, great. And we can come in and you can see if you open the details, the second element here is going to be the dirt, and that's just a tiling dirt texture. It's nothing fancy, but we can change the color of that as well. So if this is too, you know, jarring, we can bring up the lightness, down the saturation, and sort of adjust it so you get something that's more what you want. Like, let's say like that's the color I want for my dirt in here. But I want to talk about the material blending option you have right here. So this is sort of a jarring transition right here between this dirt and this cave floor. So I have made a cave dirt blend texture that we can use to blend smoothly between the two on the tile set pieces. So let's go ahead and drop this in. And right now it's still using our default cave color, so we just have to come in and change that to the one we saved. I believe this is dark. Oh, sorry, that's the dirt. Do that. It's gonna be this one. Okay, so now that's matching. And this is gonna be our dirt color. So let's actually grab that color from the one we just set. Let's go ahead and save that. Okay. And now if we come into our cave dirt blend, we can change our tint A is going to be the dirt and the tint B is going to be the cave. So we can change that here and save it. And you'll see that nothing here has changed yet. And that is because the cave dirt blend material uses mesh painting to blend smoothly between the two materials. So all we have to do is select. We have to first assign this material to these pieces. Obviously, this cave is much simpler and this dirt is much simpler of a texture. So we want to use this one in order to do it, and they're not on the tile sets by default. So once you have that blend assigned right here, you can come into the mesh paint with this piece selected, and we'll grab our paintbrush. And now the dirt blend for this pack is in the green channel. That's just something that's just how I built it. You just have to know that. And we want to actually switch our paint color to black. And we're going to paint away the cave texture and reveal basically the dirt texture underneath it. And you can see this is a much smoother blend. It's much less noticeable where this transition is. So we can select both of these because I assigned the material to both. Come back to paint, and we're just going to paint that out. And then we have a much nicer blend between these two. Alternatively, we also have, regarding the mesh painting, we also have mesh painting for the moss options on all the, I think on all the meshes actually. So if I were to say drop in a big rock here and I wanted this to be mossy, again, I have it saved as a separate material instance, but literally the only difference between this one and this one is that this one has the moss checked right here. So I'm going to give it the moss texture or material. And this looks good, but let's say I didn't want like quite so much. We can also mesh paint this. So I can come into the mesh paint here and grab my paintbrush. And now for the moss, it's going to be in the red channel. And if you forget, you can always look at the material, master material for this, and it will show you the channels. Let me just show you that now. So if you ever forget which channel is which, come into the master material for whatever material you're looking at. So for this one, I believe it's just a master. And for our moss. So our moss is saved in a separate material function, but we can open that up just by double clicking on it. And right here where it says vertex color, see how it's plugged into the red channel right here? That means you can do the mesh painting with the red channel. Same thing with the 2 material blend. So this 2 matte blend, world blend, this is our master material for the cave dirt blend. And you can see right here as well, the green channel is plugged in. So if you wanted to switch these to make some, to make it work for your project, just switch these channels here, and then that will be your mesh painting channel for those materials. So we can do that as well. All right, I don't want that there. I just wanted to show you that that is an option. Another really cool feature that I really like in this pack is the glow worms that you may have seen in some of the showcase screenshots or videos. So obviously it would be very tedious to place those glow worms down by hand, because if you look at them, they are individual strings, and then there's like one that's sort of a cluster. So we're also going to use the foliage painting system for that. And again, I have it all set up so that they should just hang down from the ceiling the way that they're supposed to, no weird rotations or anything like that. So let's come into our foliage types. You can see I have all these presets saved here for you. So the next thing I want to talk about with these mushrooms is the glowing effect that I had in the demo scene. So I have made a few FX Niagara systems for this pack, but I find that the Niagara system is a little bit like intimidating to work with if you're not used to it or you're not a VFX artist. So I've basically just abstracted these into blueprints that are a little bit easier to work with. So there's one here called Mushroom Glow. So let's just drop this into the scene and take a look at it. So we're just going to place this over a cluster of mushrooms, and all it is essentially is a light and a VFX system that makes the little particles. So let's take a look at the options we have for this here. We have all the light settings, so we can, make it stronger. We can change the color. We can change the radius. And we also have a separate VFX category here. So if we wanted to change the density to something really dense, we could set it to like 100. You can see that now there's much more particles spawning here. Change the color, of course. The spawn area bounds, you can change this here, or you can simply scale the blueprint and it will change the spawn area bounds. That is what this box represents, is where roughly that these things will spawn. You can see they spawn a little bit outside of it, but it will roughly stay to this approximate area. You can change the particle size if you want like really big particles. You can do that. You can change the gravity. So right now gravity we have set to 10, which is like a really light sort of upward effect. But if you wanted it to have like Earth gravity, you could set it to minus 980. And you can see now that it's falling like sort of like snow. So I mean, you could even make it snow if you wanted. So that's the mushroom effect. The the dust particles is essentially the same as the mushroom, but without the light embedded in it. So again, if you wanted to make, like snow falling through like a like a ceiling hole or something, you could do that for sure. You just change the color to like white. Oops. You change like the density to like something, I don't know, something that we could see really easily on camera. So like that. And you can see the gravity here is minus 100, so that's like a really gentle fall. Earth gravity is going to be minus 980. So now you can see this is sort of falling like snow. Pretty cool. There's one more effect that I want to show you, and that is the strip effect. So stalactites are obviously formed by water seeping through the ceilings of caves, and they leave these mineral deposits. So to add a little bit of realism to this pack, I've also added a dripping effect that you can place up in your ceiling for your stalactites. Same thing, this is largely just a Niagara effect that I have abstracted out into a blueprint to make it easier to work with. So we have this drip, we have a drip rate, so we can set it to be something like 100, right? And now we'll get something more like rainfall. You know, you can have it raining outside and have that coming through. Droplet scale, you know, you can make giant or small. Obviously, I think smaller is more realistic looking. Droplet life, this has to do with how high up your emitter is and how far the things need to fall before they like hit the ground, right? So if you're in this, you know, a massive 4-story cavern, which the pack has the capability for you to make, you know, rooms as tall as you want, essentially, you don't want these particles sort of going away before they hit the ground. So in a small room like this, 1 is totally fine, but you can obviously extend it and it will reach down farther. Color is obviously color, and then spawn area, the same thing. You can edit it here, or you can simply scale the blueprint box and it will emit in a smaller or larger radius. Just keep in mind that these spawn areas are approximate, so sometimes you will get occasional particles outside of them, but they do represent the general area for spawning. Okay. That is basically all I really wanted to discuss with this pack. I do hope that you found this video useful and found some tips and tricks for working with the pack. Again, this is the Stylized Modular Cave Pack. The link to purchase this from the Unreal Engine Marketplace is going to be in the video description.